Oh, indeed. Well, in fact, I'm going to pose a question. Do you have a black bag policy in your relationship? Obviously, in the film, trust is a dangerous game. And when secrets come between a couple, the stakes could not be higher. But in real life, could your relationship actually survive if your partner was hiding something or something big? Today, we are unpacking that exactly with clinical psychologist Dr. Janine Smith, who's here to chat about trust, transparency, and keeping love alive, even when the truth gets complicated. Now, we start this conversation in the hope that our partner is not an assassin or someone committing large-scale crime or anything along those lines, but secrets exist, and often with good reason. There is always motivation why we are keeping things close to our chest. Right. Can a relationship survive with secrets? Is it ever okay?
Well, obviously, it depends on the severity of the secret, and the degree. But it's not necessarily the act of keeping secrets. It's actually got to do with the intent or motive behind what's keeping the secret, and also the context. Because, if you withhold information, you may withhold information because you want to protect your partner, or because there are ethical considerations, or because it's just not the right time to talk about it.
And is that okay?
That's okay, because you're not. There isn't malice attached to it. There isn't deceit attached to it.
The heart is in the right place. Okay.
But remember, you can't also use that as an excuse and say, "No, I want you to protect you." The reality is that when you withhold the truth or hide the truth, and the motive is malice, or you want to just protect your own interests, or you don't want to face consequences, then it can become a problem, because when your partner finds out, it then hurts them and they feel betrayed by it. So it's got a lot to do with the motive behind it and the context.
And I would imagine the frequency, because if it becomes a culture or a pattern within your relationship, then where does that begin and end?
Absolutely.
I don't want to know everything that's going on in my wife's head. I don't own her. I don't own her thoughts. I don't own what she does. We partner up for parts of our life together. I'm fine with her having secrets if that's what she wants. But once you cross a line, can you come back from that? How do you restore trust once that trust or those lines have been blurred?
I think that's so important, because, when it comes to relationship, there's a lot of maintenance and effort that goes into it. So regular check-ins, reevaluating your relationship from time to time. And when I say regular check-ins, dedicate time for each other to talk about your thoughts, feelings, experiences. That's so important.
Make it a structured thing.
Yes, but then talk about what's going right, what's working for us, what's not working for us. What must I adjust as an individual? What do we need to adjust as a couple? That's also very important. But the regular check-ins, the open communication, and yes, we are agents. We need to have agency as individuals, and so you don't want to be intrusive as well. But it's good to be vulnerable as well, because that fosters emotional connection.
Completely. That vulnerability is a great first step of kind of taking it off your partner and putting it back on yourself.
Yes.
So my next question would be, how do you broach those conversations without it seeming accusatory, or because trust is very much a blame game kind of a thing when we enter into that. So when we want to have our weekly check-ins or our daily check-ins, however that looks, how do I start that conversation in a healthy way by not putting it on you, like you did this right, this was great. What words do we use?
Look, that's so important, because we don't want to trigger defensiveness. And when you blame, that's exactly what you do, right? You trigger a defensive reaction. So saying something like, when you did that, I felt this way, or when you say this, I feel this way. Also, when you notice inconsistencies, like with what somebody says and what they do, it's important to say, look, I'm a little bit confused here. Can you just, but not to blame the person, to just open up conversation.
To help them, yeah.
Yes, because you want to listen with a view to understanding where they're coming from, not come with this preconceived idea and, not be suspicious as well.
And that's all what's going on in your head, not what's in theirs. I love that. So you just almost, in essence, need to get away and hold up a mirror if you can. And I think that's where the magic happens within yourself, when you start putting yourself in those shoes. Trust is kind of a line. And it feels like once we've crossed that line, certainly when it comes to infidelity and that sort of trust space, for me, I feel like I would never be able to come back, but I've never gone through that and tried to.
Yeah.
When just trust is broken, when that becomes a cultural shift, can we rebuild that? Or do we have to start afresh and kind of have a new set of rules?
Look, we absolutely can, but you have to be willing on both ends. Both partners have to have that willingness and really be committed to work. That for me is the foundation. Because if one partner wants to actually repair and sort of resolve things, that's not enough. Both of you have to be on board with that. For me, that's very crucial.
How do you establish that you are on board? Because it's such a loaded question. I find often I'll find patterns will kick in, especially when there's conflict, that aren't even my patterns. I'm following on something that my mom and I worked on when I was 5. And if I stop and just think about it for a second, it doesn't actually upset me to the degree that I am. I'm just playing out a pattern. So how do we know if our heart is in it and we can commit to rebuilding that trust?
Well, I think that's what you spoke about earlier, like self-reflection, like really looking at what your motives are here and being true to yourself first and honest with yourself. Because, look, if you can't be honest with yourself, you're going to struggle to be honest with your partner.
What good are you to anyone?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think often just doing that check-in with yourself. And also, look, trust is built up over time. So when it has been broken, you need to give it time. Often it's taken a lot, it was an accumulative effect. So over time, there was emotional disconnection or odd signs that the trust is it's wavering. But now you need to also give it time, and to give it time, you need to be consistent with what you do, the efforts you make.
I love that. I think someone once explained it to me. It might have been my beautiful mom. In fact, that the best way you show a change of behavior is a change of behavior. Don't talk about it, don't tell it, don't scream it.
Yes. And try and be consistent with it, because that's how you gain the trust again.
All right. Well, I still haven't established whether we're allowed little black bags in our relationship or not. But some secrets are completely natural. It's about how you broach that relationship, the connection and the trust between you and within yourself. Maybe an opportunity to hold up a mirror, but we love the fact that we got a movie, The Black Bag, out in cinemas today that, yes, shows us an extreme version of where that rabbit hole can take us. Janine, thank you so much. That was absolutely valuable. Thank you. I can smell something delicious, my friend. I'm getting a little bit hungry. What's for breakfast, Ralph?